The moon, enormous and red as a burning coal, illuminated the dark forest. Detective Ricardo felt a shiver, not from cold, but from fear. A figure emerged from the shadows, its eyes shining like the moon itself. It was a woman, beautiful and mysterious, but Ricardo knew something was terribly wrong. She whispered, "He is returning, and this time he will destroy everything." Who was he? And what did this woman, as beautiful as she was dangerous, know that Ricardo didn't? His heart pounded in his chest, adrenaline surged, a premonition of imminent danger took over. The answer was somewhere, lost between two worlds. A world of mystery and magic. A world of life and death. The forest whispered secrets that night. The trees, tall and imposing, seemed to hold their breath, as if expecting something terrible. Ricardo, the detective with weary eyes and an even wearier heart, felt the weight of that promise on his skin. He is returning, and this time he will destroy everything. The voice echoed in his ears. The image of the woman, Luna, with her eyes shining like rubies, engraved in his memory like a nightmare that wouldn't end. He never believed in witches, in magic, in parallel dimensions. But Luna was real as the pain in his soul caused by the loss of his wife. And the threat she represented was even more real. Ricardo delved deeper into the woods, the dry leaves under his feet seeming to whisper warnings. The moon bled in the sky, painting the frightening trees red. He needed to find answers. He needed to understand what that prophecy meant, who he was, and most importantly, how to stop him. His flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating a path that seemed to have no end. He felt a chill down his spine. But it wasn't the chill of the night. It was the cold fear that froze the blood in his veins. The fear of the unknown, the fear of what was to come. Suddenly, a noise, a breaking branch. Ricardo stopped, his heart pounding in his chest, adrenaline surging through his body. He spun around, flashlight in hand, but only found darkness. Was it just the wind? Or was it something more? Something that was watching him, waiting for the right moment to attack. He felt he was being watched, that those bright eyes were following him, among the trees, among the branches. Then he saw her. A shadow moved in the distance, a small, slender figure taking shape among the trees. It was Iara, the young and enigmatic witch who had helped him in the past. She was so different from Luna, calm, serene, with eyes that seemed to know all the secrets of the forest, eyes that shone with the mysterious green of ancient trees. Iara, with her long black hair and a shy smile, represented a haven amidst the storm that was Ricardo's life. She was a light in that menacing darkness. "Ricardo," Iara whispered, her voice as soft as the sound of rain in the forest. "I knew you would come." A knot formed in Ricardo's throat. Iara had an impressive intuition, a sixth sense that left him both amazed and a little scared. It was as if she could see beyond what eyes could see, as if she could feel the flow of magic in the air, a flow that Ricardo was still learning to understand. "I need your help," Ricardo said, his voice hoarse and filled with urgency. "Luna told me he's coming back, that he'll destroy everything." Iara nodded, her eyes full of concern. "I already knew. The ancient prophecy is being fulfilled. He is a being of shadows, fueled by fear and darkness. A being who wants to seize this world and destroy everything that is good." She paused, her eyes shining with an intense light, the red moon reflecting in her dilated pupil. "But we can stop him, if we work together." A smile, almost imperceptible, formed on Ricardo's lips. Together? He, a skeptical detective, and Iara, a modern witch with ancestral secrets? The idea sounded absurd, but at that moment, in the middle of the dark forest, under the light of the bloody moon, it was the only hope he had. "How?" Ricardo asked, hope mixed with the fear that still haunted him. The fear of what he might be, the fear of the power he possessed, the fear of losing everything once again, and more importantly, the fear of losing Iara too. Because, despite his initial disbelief, Ricardo already perceived, deep within his heart, that Iara was more important than he imagined. She was a force of nature, a strong presence, an unexpected passion that was blossoming amidst the chaos. The red moon continued to bleed in the sky as Iara smiled, a mysterious smile, a smile full of secrets, a smile that hid ancient knowledge and a power capable of traversing dimensions. Destiny, sealed under the gaze of the moon, called them to a dangerous journey, a journey between two worlds, where love and danger danced together in a deadly dance. The adventure was just beginning. Iara explained that the threat was not just a person, but an ancient entity, linked to a powerful artifact, a kind of amulet that amplified the power of darkness. This amulet had been lost for centuries, hidden somewhere between the two worlds. Luna's prophecy was a warning, but it didn't contain all the details. To find the amulet, they would need to decipher ancient runes engraved on an ancestral map, a map that Iara possessed, a map that was more than a map. It was a key to another dimension. Ricardo, although still doubting a little, trusted Iara. Her strength and serenity in the face of that threat were contagious. The image of Luna, with her ruby eyes and her terrible omens, still haunted him, but Iara's presence was a balm for his wounded soul. He felt drawn to her, not only by the strength and mystery that surrounded her, but also by her fragility, by her humanity. He saw in her a good, pure soul in such a dark world. The map was an ancient scroll, made of a material that looked like leather, but with a strange, almost soft texture. The runes engraved on it glowed faintly in the moonlight, seeming to pulsate with a life of their own. Iara explained that the runes were like a code that could only be deciphered with the help of an ancient ritual. This ritual required special ingredients that could only be found in a specific place in the forest, a magical place, a hidden and dangerous place. The journey through the forest was tense. With every step, Ricardo felt the presence of the evil entity, like a cold shadow enveloping him. Iara, however, moved with impressive confidence. She seemed to know every corner of the forest, every tree, every creature that lived there. She guided him through hidden paths, past haunted places that sent shivers down his spine. She could identify the plants needed for the ancient ritual, plants with magical properties, plants he had never seen before. However, the journey would not be easy. They were surprised by strange creatures, beings of shadows that attacked with fury. Ricardo, with his detective experience, used his intelligence and his weapon to fight against the creatures, while Iara used her knowledge of magic, her enchantments, and protective spells. They fought together, supporting each other, creating a bond of trust and admiration that strengthened with each passing moment. Ricardo, who was so skeptical, realized that there was a world invisible to his eyes, a world of magic and mystery, a world that was intrinsically linked to our world. As they fought, Iara revealed a little more about her history. She was not just a modern witch, but a guardian of an ancestral secret, the protector of a balance between the two worlds. Her family, throughout generations, was responsible for protecting the amulet of darkness, for preventing the entity from escaping. Now, she was the last in her lineage to carry this responsibility. The fight against the evil entity was not just a mission, it was a legacy, an ancestral obligation. They arrived at the ritual site. It was a clearing hidden in the middle of the forest, with an ancient and gigantic tree in the center, its crown reaching the stars. The air was heavy, charged with magic. Ricardo felt an enormous power pulsating in the place, a power that made him dizzy, that left him breathless. The evil entity was near. He felt it. The fear was palpable, real. But beside him was Iara, his light, his strength, his hope. She began the ritual, her gaze fixed on the ancient tree, her hands moving with precision and grace. The runes on the map glowed with a more intense light, and the air became increasingly charged with energy. The ritual was about to begin, and with it, the possibility of stopping the being of shadows forever. The red moon continued to watch them, witnessing the crucial moment, the decisive moment. The fate of the two worlds was in their hands, in the hands of a skeptical detective and a courageous witch, united by love amidst the chaos. The next stage would be the most dangerous of all. The air vibrated, charged with a palpable, almost physical energy. Ricardo could feel the hairs on his arms stand on end, not only from the cold of the night, but from a strange sensation, a pressure that compressed his chest, an anticipation laden with imminent danger. Iara, her eyes shining intensely, guided the ritual, Her voice, though soft, emanated an undeniable force. She moved the herbs and crystals with millimeter precision, each gesture laden with centuries of ancestral knowledge. The runes on the ancient map pulsed, emitting a faint light, as if breathing, preparing for the great moment. Suddenly, a crash. The earth trembled, the trees swayed, and an icy wind swept through the clearing. The creature of shadows emerged from the darkness, a gigantic and horrible figure, with eyes that gleamed like infernal coals. Its presence was terrifying, suffocating, emanating an aura of pure evil, an evil that freezes the soul and paralyzes the body. The sight was so horrible that Ricardo almost felt unable to breathe, fear trying to consume him entirely. The creature was immense, its amorphous and distorted form, like a dense smoke that had come to life, with dark and viscous tentacles that writhed in the air. Its eyes, two bright black abysses, were fixed on Iara, in a clear demonstration of its hatred. The nauseating smell of decay and sulfur permeated the air, a smell that promised suffering and pain. Ricardo, despite the terror he felt, grabbed his weapon. He knew it wasn't enough against such a creature, but he didn't hesitate. Adrenaline propelled him, made him act instinctively, the only way he knew how to fight. He needed to protect Iara, not only because she was the key to stopping the creature, but because at that moment he realized he loved her. A sudden, profound feeling, as if he had known her for all eternity. Iara, however, remained firm. Despite the fear that shone in her eyes, she did not retreat. She knew it was time, and the determination on her face was unshakable. She continued the ritual, her voice firm, full of power. The crystals shone intensely. The herbs emanated a magical aroma, combating the noxious aura of the creature of shadows. The fight began. Ricardo shot, but the bullets passed through the creature as if they were air. It was intangible, ethereal, able to transform and contort at will. The creature advanced, its dark tentacles extending like whips, trying to hit them. Ricardo dodged, adrenaline pulsing like a high-speed engine. Iara, between her defensive movements, continued the ritual, chanting ancient words in an unknown language, but which resonated in her soul, in a mixture of strength and vulnerability. Ricardo saw Iara get hurt. One of the creature's tentacles hit her, tearing her clothes and opening a deep cut on her arm. The blood flowed, but Iara didn't even flinch or moan. She continued, her determination immutable. This act of courage touched Ricardo, igniting in him a superhuman strength. He would do anything to protect her, even if it meant giving his own life. Suddenly, something changed. The ritual seemed to be working. The crystals shone intensely, emitting a blinding flash. The creature screamed, a horrible sound that resonated in the forest, a sound of pure agony. Its amorphous form began to unravel, to dissipate like smoke in the wind. The creature, weakened, attempted a last desperate attack, but Iara, with a war cry, finished the ritual. A ray of pure light emanated from the crystals, striking the creature squarely. It screamed again, a scream of pain and collapse, before disappearing completely, disintegrating into black dust that spread through the air. The forest fell silent. The fear dissipated, giving way to a deep sense of relief. Ricardo ran to Iara, checking her wounds. He hugged her tightly, feeling her body tremble, but her heart beating strong and steady. She was alive. She was all right. Looking at the remnants of the ritual, at the calm forest under the moon, Ricardo realized that the fight was over, but that a new journey was just beginning. The journey of two worlds, where the skeptical detective and the modern witch found the most unlikely love. The love that would unite them forever on their supernatural journey. And, deep in his heart, Ricardo knew that this would not be the end, but just another chapter in this exciting saga. The silence that followed the creature's destruction was so deep, so heavy, that it seemed to echo forever in the forest. Ricardo hugged Iara tightly, feeling the warmth of her body against his, an inexplicable contrast to the cold of the night and the recent fear. The relief was immense, a wave that washed over him, making him feel the weight on his shoulders lift as if tons of concrete had been removed. But the peace was fragile, almost ephemeral, like a butterfly about to take flight. He looked at Iara, his eyes meeting hers, full of a mixture of exhaustion, gratitude, and fear. A fear that he himself felt, but which now had a new dimension, a new focus. Iara, despite the bleeding wound on her arm, smiled weakly, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes that were fixed on something beyond the clearing, something that Ricardo couldn't yet see. She took a deep breath, the air entering her lungs with a wheezing sound that made Ricardo shudder. She pointed to the sky, to the red moon that continued to watch over everything, imposing and sinister. "We won. For now," she whispered, her voice weak, almost inaudible. "But the amulet is still out there." Ricardo followed Iara's gaze. The moon, large and red, like an open wound in the sky, pulsed with a strange light, a light that seemed to intensify, taking on a more menacing, more sinister hue. He felt a wave of cold climb up his spine, a shiver that had nothing to do with the night's temperature. Something was wrong. Something very, very wrong. And then he saw it. An immense and dark shadow, sneaking among the trees on the horizon. A shadow that didn't seem natural. A shadow that seemed to feed on the darkness itself. A shadow that seemed familiar. Far too familiar. The shadow grew, expanding, swallowing the forest and the moon, as if the universe itself was about to be swallowed by it. The shadow approached. Slowly, relentlessly. It was as if time stopped, as if the world was waiting, with its breath held in its throat, for the moment when darkness would engulf them entirely. Ricardo felt his heart accelerate, a frantic rhythm that seemed to echo the growing fear in his chest. Iara, her eyes wide, whispered a name that sounded like a silent thunder. Azazel. The shadow took shape, revealing a gigantic and horrifying figure. It was not the same creature of shadows they had defeated moments before. This one was different, more powerful, more terrifying. Its eyes gleamed like infernal coals. Its tentacles were thicker, darker. Its aura emanated a terrifying power, a power that promised total annihilation. It was an even larger, more frightening, more powerful creature than the one they had faced. Ricardo and Iara looked at each other, the fear in their eyes as intense as the darkness that hung over them. They had defeated one threat, but another, infinitely larger, more sinister, and more terrifying, had emerged from the depths of the shadows. Azazel had arrived, and with him, the promise of total destruction. The moon bled in the sky, a silent witness to the beginning of the end. And, under Azazel's implacable gaze, Ricardo and Iara knew that this battle would be much more difficult, much more dangerous than any they had faced before. The fight for survival, for the salvation of the two worlds, was just beginning. What would they do now? How would they face such an ancient, such a malevolent power? The future was uncertain. Hope, as faint as a thread of light in the immense darkness.